correct me if I'm wrong on the date. Wasn't this from
9/23/81? I just looked it up
Okay.
because I realized we were doing a Japanese match, and the dates are very important when you talk about Japanese matches.
Because when I was actually looking this up, there was a 79 one, but I did not think it was that because it was much shorter. But this is, as Brad said, this is from 9/23/81, so September 23rd, 1981, so almost a 40-year-old match. It's Stan the Lariat Hansen versus Andre the Giant. For those of you who aren't aware, like Andre got around in some of the places that he worked before he went to the WWF was some of the Japanese promotions. This was All Japan, I believe, because
no, it was New Japan. It got mislabeled, but it was New Japan because I'm pretty sure this is when Hansen was working for like New Japan for a couple years.
Wow, I always just associate him with All Japan.
Yeah, there was he's pretty much always been All Japan, but there was I think a 2 or 3 year period where he worked for New Japan.
Right. So this is a match between them. I don't know what type of show this was on. I don't know if it was like a big show or anything. I don't know how this match got booked. I don't know if there was hype for it. I don't know any of that background. All I know is it's Hansen versus Andre, and it is fucking fantastic.
It is badass.
I will set this up for folks because obviously WrestleMania 3, Andre versus Hogan, that's the most famous match Andre was ever in. From like a historical perspective, that's the biggest match he's probably ever been in. It's what he'll always be remembered for. In terms of actual like match quality and just like it blowing your mind, it's this match. This is the best Andre match I've ever seen. And like Andre isn't just, I mean, even sadly to say, like just a few years later at WrestleMania 3, he was already kind of starting to break down like pretty significantly, started having like a lot of mobility issues, but he couldn't, but he was fucking moving around like nobody his size should have been moving. Like he was quick.
Yep.
He had agility.
Mm-hmm.
He had what's really crazy, and we can go into it like in depth. He was doing some really actually like smart psychology in the match, which is not something you would see out of a Andre match usually. Usually it was
preach it, brother Matt. Preach it.
It was usually just him like pummeling guys, like forcing them into a corner and just like, you know, using his body against them. But he was working over Hansen's arm at one point. It's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, first off, it starts off with the two of them just like immediately going at it. I mean, not just like, let's do a nice little collar and elbow tie up. No, they're just fucking on. Oh yeah, they just start throwing bombs at each other.
I'm sorry, Matt. I want to jump in because I'm excited about this one too. I appreciate at the beginning that Hansen was the one that got aggressive first.
Yeah.
Because that let Andre feed into him a little bit and say, like, no, this is Stan Hansen. He's hurting Andre when he hits him.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to step on your point.
Oh, no. And well, first off, let's talk about how, like, look, this isn't uniformly true. And certainly crowds can always be different. And Japanese crowds are like any other crowd where if they're into something, they're really excited about something, you know, they'll cheer, they'll get into it. But generally, like, Japanese crowds, for the most part, aren't necessarily going to be like American crowds where they're just like people shouting shit at the wrestlers and things like that. They're slightly more subdued, but they do cheer. But this, at the beginning of this was like as hot as I have ever heard a Japanese crowd.
It was crazy, wasn't it?
They were hot for this match. Like, they were just like on their feet, like electrified.
Yeah.
And it's just intense. Like I didn't do like a match by match thing in my notes, but some things I noted. If you can interject if you have like.
Yeah, I did actually. And it's like we said, it starts off hot. And I gotta ask, Brad, was the build to this that like Andre and Hansen had killed each other's dogs or something?
No, basing it on what I've seen of Japanese wrestling, and this is based more on All Japan, but they both kind of work together. They just would bring people in. Like, they would announce at the start of the tour the guys they're bringing in. So Andre probably came in on this tour and they booked this towards the end. And, you know,
Okay.
Hansen being Hansen, they just went.
They just went balls out.
But, I mean, and the crowd probably just picked the guy that's there all the time and they're more familiar with, so that's probably why they were so pro Hansen, because he was like a fixture in Japan at this time.
But still, you know, on the other hand, it's flipping Andre. So, like we said, the match starts, and Hansen just goes at Andre. He's just hammering on him, right?
He wastes no time.
And Andre, like, feeds into it. He's like, oh, you know, when he's selling and he's backing it off. And then Andre gets in and puts Hansen in a bear hug, and Hansen fights his way out of it. Like, hammers Andre enough to get him to turn loose.
Well, he was, like, grabbing at his face, too.
Yeah, he's, like, pushing his head back and, like, punching him and like, forearming him and stuff. And then, as they're going, all of a sudden, this is the thing that blew my mind. Like, I'm not saying I've never said Andre couldn't work. I know Andre could work. You have to be really good to be a good big man. And even if it looks kind of lazy, you still got to be really good to do that and have it look good and be convincing, right? Like, Big Show has got better as he got older, and he got better at doing that stuff. And it kind of goes back to our last episode with the old versus new, like doing more with less kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Andre was really good at that stuff because, you know, he didn't have to. But in this one, all of a sudden, like, Hansen's hammering at him. Andre steps in and flipping key locks, or no, he Kimura's Hansen. Like, he goes, Andre goes technical.
Yeah.
Andre the Giant goes technical in this match first.
It was the damnedest thing.
I know, it's not even that. It's not like Hansen like locked him up and Andre was going to be like, I can show you I can do this too. Andre did it first on Hansen's lariat arm.
Yep.
From the beginning. And that's what I loved, is like right there at the beginning he does this, and Hansen's coming at him. He's just like, give a damn how big you are, I'm coming at. And Andre's like, oh, you know, well, I know he's really good with that lariat. Let's take that out of the equation. He hooks that in. And he spends most of the match trying to take that arm out. Mm-hmm. And I was just blown away by this, right? It's not that I didn't think Andre could do it. I just didn't expect him to.
What I thought was really kind of stood out about this match, and some other matches have it, but there was a real like level of grime to this match. Like, there's clearly not any like potatoing or sandbagging going on. But they give this level of, it almost feels like they're kind of not cooperating with each other.
Yeah, there was that kind of feeling where they were working with each other, but they blurred the lines where it almost seemed like they were doing some sort of like shoot, or at least like a work shoot. It got intense.
It was rough enough, right? You know, you watch it and they're not hurting each other. Yes, Pips is here. She was a fan of this match too. She sat and watched it with me. That's why she's trying to get her words in. But you know, they're going like seriously roughneck, and they're working snug. And you know, well, I mean, it's Hansen, so of course. But Andre's giving it right back. And man, that's really, that gets you more invested, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love watching really athletic stuff, and you do cool things, and then it's like, oh, they're going to do the Tower of Doom, that's going to be a big thing. Like, that's cool, but it doesn't get you invested the same way stuff like this does.
Yeah, and I was kind of blown away by the psychology aspect. Like you said, like Andre didn't usually work that sort of style. In fact, I don't think I had ever really seen him do it. It's because he didn't really have to.
Yeah.
Usually he was booked differently. Like, I mean, he also came from that kind of era, which I don't know if a lot of modern day people really follow that philosophy. Some people do. But it's like you do only as much as you need to. Kind of that was like the mentality. It's like, I'm not going to do like 5 flips if I can get more heat by just bailing out of the ring and like strolling around the ring and like getting some cheap heat from the fans doing that.
Yeah, and your career is going to be longer if you're good at that too.
Yeah. So Andre usually just he didn't have to do that sort of thing, but it was in the context of this match, it was perfectly logical for him to go after the lariat arm. And it was crazy. And how about this? Like right after he was kind of working over the arm, he does a fucking suplex on Hansen.
Yeah.
And I mean, folks, like a suplex like you would ordinarily see, like a regular suplex or a suplex if we're Soli.
The Soli fans, yeah. Yeah, it's a straight vertical suplex.
Yeah.
And that also brings up something that, and I want to bring this up because just to reinforce how good Andre was. In this match, Andre was so good at finding transition spots that didn't make himself or Hansen look stupid. Like Andre would do something and miss, and Hansen would be able to like get a hope spot and come up and start hammering away, right? But it didn't make Andre look like an idiot for it. And he just found little spots to do that with.
I will say he did make a huge tactical error when he went to the Irish whip that really kind of reversed his fortunes in this match. Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like you don't let Stan Hansen start running. That's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like they do the transition spots, and so they don't look stupid, and it's like a logical progression. Like, of course, Andre would try and do that, and Hansen gets out of the way and starts being able to get over on him. But it's not like oh, Andre only did that so Hansen, right? Like it would make logical sense in an actual contest. The other thing they did that they were so good at, and Andre was really good about this because he was kind of dictating the pace on it, was the fact that he was spacing things out.
Mm-hmm.
So that the crowd had an opportunity to either be mad at Andre for pinning Hansen down, or to be just psyched because Hansen just got loose and got all over Andre before Andre got a hold of him again. And, you know, I know I've mentioned it before, but if you don't ever stop and let the crowd breathe and enjoy and respond to what they just saw, you're either going to wear them out or you're going to make them bored, because it's just like, okay, right? But they space it out enough that it's like, okay, all right, you know, like they do some stuff, and then Andre hooks that arm again, and they stop and breathe. And the crowd's just like, get him, Hansen! Well, however Japanese crowds do it. But, you know, get him, Hansen! And then Hansen gets loose, and he gets in on Andre, and Andre backs up, and they're like, go, Stan! And, you know, there's gaps for it to breathe in the middle of it.
Can we also talk about the body slam?
Yes!
There's an amazing spot. I mean, I know Hulk Hogan likes to act like that's the first time Andre has ever been slammed before.
All right.
But in this match, there is a spot where Hansen body slams Andre, and it's incredible. Like Andre gets like a lot of air on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then doesn't Hansen just start dropping knees on him?
No, he goes for an elbow and misses, and then they're both kind of like...
You got a double down spot. So, like I said, you said he does his awesome body slam, he misses the elbow, and they're both down. And that lets it breathe, because the crowd can be like, oh my God, Stan Hansen just body slammed Andre the Giant. That was so cool, right? Because you want to let the crowd do that, because then you're not stepping on them being excited.
Well,
okay.
It was well timed, too, because it felt like they had it feel like Hansen was about done, and then he kind of comes off the ropes with that kick and slams him, and then it's like he suddenly has life again.
Yeah. He got some breathing room. Oh, man. Oh, and after the slam, Hansen went into a camel clutch on Andre, which makes perfect sense. What are you going to do to Andre to try and keep... Camel clutch makes, you know, because it's... I'm pausing for a second. Yeah, jump in if you want.
Crazy this. But then they start brawling again, and then they go outside the ring, and I guess they basically both get counted out. The match gets thrown out.
Yeah, that was
And so
that was standard procedure for All Japan and New Japan until like the mid '80s.
okay, yeah. So they're brawling. They like go outside with the brawling, and either they get counted out or they get the match gets thrown out. I don't know which because the audio is in it's in Japanese.
I'm
but,
pretty sure it's a count out.
Okay,
I thought just Andre got counted out from the way Hansen was responding.
No,
I don't know.
Go ahead. It doesn't matter that much.
That's usually that was a pretty classic like double count out from that time frame.
Okay.
Now,
yeah. So
I want to
go ahead.
comment. I want to comment. One thing I love about watching old footage from Japan in like the 70s and 80s and even in the 60s is they shot their shows so much better than America did. Like it looks as good as stuff from like the 2000s. And if you watch like stadium stuff that was shot by promotions in the 80s in the US, it looks like garbage compared to this.
The camera's too far back, and you can't. It's hard to see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a really good point, Brad.
You mean they didn't do the preferred, the quality method of shooting wrestling by doing complete jump cuts over and over and over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shad, why don't you look at the message I just sent you?
Yeah. Yes.
It's Bucky Beaver time.
That's true. God.
That is, in fairness, that is actually a very good point that Brad is making. Like the quality of just the way they shot this, just the camera angle choices, and just overall I want to call it cinematography. It's not cinematography, but just overall like the angles they used and how they did shoot it. It was quality. I mean, this is a match that's almost 40 years old.
And
but
it looks better than some WCW footage from like the early 90s.
yeah.
The one that I had in mind was the first Starcade. It looks amazing. The shooting in the first Starcade looked like crap, really. It was too far back. It was not, the lighting wasn't good either. Like,
No.
It was so far back, the lighting wasn't good. But this, you could see very clearly what was going on. It was just far enough back for you to be able to see the whole ring, but it wasn't so far back that you were losing what you were watching.
Well, and I mean, I'm pretty sure they are shooting with better cameras too.
That would make sense.
I mean, and it is Japan in the early 80s, so I'm pretty sure their video technology was probably better at the time.
Because people weren't buying the new technology yet.
Well, I'm sure someone could break it down technically. I think promotions were still doing stuff on like 20 millimeter. Or some like really antiquated thing from like the 60s as far as this goes. Because if you watch like arena footage from like even the AWA or something, it looks like crap. And this looks like what like the Techwood shows look like if you watch old like stuff from like that TV studio stuff. So it just looks really good. Like if you watch this, you would think it was probably from like the mid 90s.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, and we had the. I'm gonna go back to the match. Matt pointed out that we had the count out on the outside. Hansen's on the inside, like, no, bring it on, come and get it. And it's the crowd's chanting, and I don't know what they're chanting, but in my head it's labeled "Let them fight, let them fight, let them fight." Right?
Yeah. So you think the match is over here? But it's not.
No,
Andre gets back in the ring, and he says something. He's like arguing with like the ref, whatever, and he basically forces the match to continue.
Right.
Which I was like, whoa, like I didn't know that they were going to go that direction, but they continue, and it's still awesome.
Yes.
They just start going at it again, and I don't know if you caught this, Shad, but there's a point where like Andre has Hansen in the ropes. And he chops him, and I was like, "Oh fuck! I don't know if that was fake or not. Like that looked pretty snug. Like that looked but
Let's see.
he kind of lit him up a bit.
Yeah,
I heard that slap.
Well, because first Andre did the tied in the rope spot, and then Andre put Hansen in the tied in the rope spot, and Andre's hits just. You look at Andre the Giant, and he's a big dude, and since he didn't have the thing with his pituitary done, he just, he kept growing and stuff. He didn't look like a normal human being, for lack of a better term, right? And so you look at him, and you're like, Andre hits you. Of course, it's going to hurt, but hits sound not like the you get from like chops and stuff that you see on TV right now. Like, you just sound like these big clubbing blows, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got to see Andre do the first headbutts in the match after that, and he goes back to the arm. Like, after it's been restarted, he goes back to the arm. He goes to surfboard.
Yeah, he also body slams Hansen, and Stan fucking bounced.
Yeah.
He landed. I mean, I swear to God, folks, he bounced 2-3 inches off the mat. It was something.
Yeah, man. Andre does all that. He gets the slam you mentioned. Then Andre misses the splash, and Hansen misses the elbow, so we get this double down time, right? And then the crowd's like, oh, man, what happens next? You know what happens next.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What happens next?
I don't know if this was immediately after that. I forget, but I know that when Andre is back up, Hansen goes for the lariat, and he nails Andre with it, and Andre just goes flying outside the ring.
Yeah. Andre gets the lariat so hard, he goes through the ropes to the floor.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, Hansen's just in the ring, like, all fired up like Hansen gets. After his big move, not only took down Andre the Giant, but knocked him out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, man, that was a really cool moment. And then Andre comes back in the ring with an elbow pad on his arm. Yeah. He gets back in there with the elbow pad on his arm, like he's gonna lariat Hansen, but he never gets the chance. He tries to, and he clubs the ref with it.
Yeah, it just breaks down from here, and he fucking clocks the ref.
Yeah.
With was it a clothesline or something?
Yeah, because he had the elbow pad on like Hansen does.
And I was like, what the hell? I've never seen Andre just fuck it, I'm not going after the ref now. It was insane.
I know.
And that's pretty much the end of the match, because I mean it just completely broke down at this point. But it was what a match. It's crazy.
It was surprising, but it was also really cool to watch.
What I think what astounds me from this match is this isn't the first time I've watched this, but the fact that it grabs you from the first second and doesn't let go the entire time.
Oh yeah. That's it just hangs on, and you ride this. It's like riding a bull. You're just trying to hang on the whole time and see what happens.
This was, again, I've gushed about this match for the last 20 minutes or so, but I was just thinking this match is, again, almost 40 years old, and it is amazing, and it holds up to today. And I was just contemplating, because after I watched this match, I was thinking last year, the Walter PCO match from Janela Spring Break kind of revitalized the career of PCO, and that match isn't. I like the match a lot, actually, but it's more of a spectacle, because it's two big dudes in there and PCO doing things to almost kill himself.
Right.
But that was something that really got a lot of interest from people, and again, it kind of hyped PCO to the point where now, I mean, he's winning tag championships, and his career has a resurgence. But I was thinking about that match, and how if this match, if these two guys were somehow alive today, Hansen's alive. You know what I mean? Like they're
Right.
like people who were like contemporaries. They were of this moment,
Right.
and they had this match anywhere, like Japan, in the Indies or something like that. And they weren't already big stars. A match like this would have fucking made them. They would have been instantly like indie darlings overnight.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Incidentally, I just wanted to say, I think PCO trying to kill himself, we can just refer to as PCO doing PCO things.
I want to say, I dare anyone to watch this match and to come out of it saying you can look at Andre the Giant the same way.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Like we said, we all three said it in the course of this. We knew Andre was capable, but you didn't expect to see it. And he just did such a good job with it. Man, it was really cool. It was fun to watch. So, yeah, that was really special.
I know we don't throw snowflakes around on this show, but I would unironically give this 5 stars.
You know what? I would be there with you. It's everything. It's like a spectacle, but it's also there's psychology, there's brawling. It's super hot from beginning to end. It's just it's a fantastic match.
It is.
I don't know. I'd throw it somewhere between 4 and 5, and I'm not sure where because honestly, I don't think about snowflakes much. So, would it be a 5? Maybe. Would it be a 4? Maybe. Would it be somewhere in between? I'm not sure, but it would definitely be up there.